Discovery goes too fast. So it's like, but that's the point. You're going to have different tones, different targets on these different series. And I really like it. I think it goes really, really well. I think it fits the theme music of, the Picard theme. It's this lovely kind of just unfolding of everything. And now we're reaching a midway point, and I feel like that they've reached it where they should. He's starting to come around, and I think that whole Hugh section was so important, and bringing him there. And it's kind of interesting that Hugh, who they brought out his identity in the original TNG episode I, Borg, is bringing out Picard's humanity in Picard.
Right.
It's a lovely
it's gone full
reflection.
Circle. Yeah, a 180 flip. Now that Hugh is more human than Borg. But my wife made a good observation here when they were fixing that person's eye. Mm-hmm. Right, they were getting rid of all of the Borg implants and everything, but Hugh still had some for some reason.
Well, I think with all of them, there are different pieces that they leave in. They kind of established that with Seven. The doctor is like, I can't take anything else out, or I wouldn't have anything better to use for that function. And that's probably the case with all of them, and maybe a little different depending on the species of the person. And for Hugh, whatever his pieces are, that, there's just nothing that would function any better than those. Right, and it's probably different because everybody's physiology is different.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think
and
of
of course, Picard maybe internally still has some. I think they've hinted at that before. But he was so briefly joined that he didn't have as much dependence. And of course, they established that with the whole H-up thing and giving up his cortical node. And even then, he had worked out you have to do a little bit of genetic engineering to make up for this. But I haven't been connected very long, so I can compensate for this.
Right.
And I just think, and with each of these Borg, how long they were connected is going to vary. So I just think that's going to vary from Borg to Borg.
That makes sense. It's a pretty good answer to that. Is there anything else you want to discuss about the episode?
Well, we talked about, I just wonder about Agnes. I really do. And I do think that Narek's going to come around and
unfortunately, I do too.
Soji, and I don't find that a bad thing. I don't think that means they're going to get together or anything. I just think that he's going to be the Tal Shiar person that is the pinnacle changing point. And I mean, kudos to Harry Treadaway, because that scene was, he was good. I just thought he was really good in that scene. I didn't expect that kind of empathy.
I agree. I like hating him so much. I don't want him to flip.
He's so much better a villain though than his sister, because she's so straight up villain. To me,
that's true.
Narissa is kind of the Sayla of this show, because Sayla was always kind of one dimensional for me in The Next Generation. Oh,
you're right.
So here is something. What is the Romulan queen that he refers to? And is that Sayla? Which
that would be interesting.
Would that be too small universe? I'm sure people would complain if it was. On the other hand, I found it very interesting that he said there was a Romulan queen for the Borg now. So that was also a little bit of setup for something. I don't know what.
And the way he said it, he kind of whispered it so no one else would hear it.
Romulan queen. I love everything Jonathan Del Arco did in this episode was just fantastic. He's just fantastic.
Yeah, very good, very good. I agree. So, what are your final thoughts? And where do you think we're going?
Well, I'm going to be really interested to see what he has to talk about to Troy and Riker. And is Troy going to help a little bit more with therapy here? I have no idea how long their interaction is. But my guess is, the writers said that it developed that there was a need for Riker and Troy And I wonder if that's kind of it, some of that needing a counselor a little bit there, plus an escape point. I don't, I have to say this show, I feel like everything makes sense, but I don't know where the end point is exactly. So, and which is really fun. It's like nice to not have been so telegraphed that you know where it's going.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that we were able to guess a little too easily certain things that happened in Discovery, and in this show, it's keeping that from us a little bit better.
Yeah, I think so too, but not. I don't feel like it's coming out of anything that is revealed is coming out of the blue. I thought they've tried a really good line here of setting things up and paying them off.
I agree. I think the setups aren't always so obvious until we see the payoff. But once we do, we're like, oh, that's what that meant. That's what that meant. So you're right. They're not just changing the story midway just for change's sake.
And I think Seven's coming back, but I don't know if it's next episode or not.
I definitely
really thought she was going to be in the last 3, but maybe not. Or, it might be another, like, at the end type of thing.
Right.
And I do hope that we get more growing Elnor. And I think we will. I think that this episode we saw his character developing a little bit, that he's very, very perceptive. And he is an innocent kid, but not an idiot by any means. He just doesn't know how to, like Soji or Daj or anybody, integrate these 2 lives that they've had, this cloistered life and this life out in space and in danger, in a different kind of danger than was ever shown on Vashti, So you have that integrating 2 lives with every single character, which I personally love.
I would agree with that. I think everyone has a duality to them, and they clash with themselves but not with each other, kind of thing. Yeah,
and there's just, that's what, healing and self-growth is. So they're just really exploring that, and I happen to appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's very good. Very good. So
yeah, quite possibly my favorite episode of the season. I'm pretty sure. And largely, I think, due to Hugh and Jonathan Delarco, that just everything throughout that whole middle section to the end just really started to turn that ship with Picard and his disconnectedness. And I loved that. I hope we continue to see that.
Yeah, me too. I hope we continue to see a softer, more social Picard as we go on.
Just a more compassionate, bring that compassionate side back.
Right.
Which, honestly, I was watching an episode of TNG the other night. I was watching The Defector, and I was like, wow, he is a jerk to this guy through the whole thing, showing zero compassion until he's dead. And then he becomes very compassionate. And I'm like, you know what? He was a lot more of a jerk than I often remember him being in the series.
He was, actually. A lot of people don't remember it because you look back and see, your favorite characters with rose-colored glasses. But
you look at Bosch was so mad at him because he didn't ever talk about her. And she's like, well, I didn't expect you to give intimate details, but, that you met me. And, even there, he was showing that same thing.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But yeah, no, enjoyable episode. Did you like it?
I really liked it. I don't know if it would be my favorite, but it's hard in a series that's done serialized to pick a favorite, because your favorite might be the payoffs for things that happened earlier that if that didn't happen, this episode would have stunk,
It's like Discovery. I have favorite scenes, favorite relationships, favorite developments, and it's kind of the same here. I did feel that this episode was really packed. When I went back and rewatched, I think anything Narissa is in, I have to say, it kind of kills the scenes for me a little bit. I am not a huge fan of that character. Actress is fabulous, but I'm not. This is the one character in the entire series that I'm like, I feel like they did not flesh her out in the right way or enough.
Right. And they might moving forward, but
maybe.
I think
personally,
right now
I'm really hoping that Narek just offs her at some point. I feel
That might
like that
happen
would
too.
be the payoff with Soji is that he just offs his sister and saves Soji. And that doesn't mean they're getting back together. I feel like that bridge is crossed. He has lost her. But that
Right.
might be the beginning of growth for Narek's character.
It might be. You're absolutely right. And I've predicted that from the very beginning.
Yeah, I do.
Maybe
think
not kill his sister, but that he's going to redeem himself by saving Soji at some point.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to kill his sister. I hope so. It would make up for Game of Thrones thing that still bothers me to this day.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I got it here.
It's so weird. But all right, so where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter at Karen Chu, Karinchu, and pretty active there. On Instagram, I post a lot of Star Trek content there too, and I am at @TheWavyNation_.
Awesome. So thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really, I love talking this stuff.
Yeah, it was great talking Star Trek. We'll definitely have to have you on again.
I would, anytime you guys can call me in because I
Awesome.
really enjoy it.
Awesome. Please join us on our Facebook page at UFP Earth, where we would love to hear what you think about the episode. And you can find me at Magic Drop 5 on Twitter and on Twitch. That's no spaces and the 5 is a number. You can also find me on this network with my good friend Tribs, where we host Mickey's Marvels. The next episode to drop after this will actually have a special guest since Tribs cannot make it, also due to the Star Trek cruise. So my son Michael will be filling in for him. At this time, we would like to thank our executive producers who make this all possible. They are Brandon-Shea, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson. Thank you again for all that you do for this network. And please go to iTunes and leave us a star rating and written review. That will help others find our podcast and let us know what you'd like for us to discuss. We are open to any and all ideas. Also, remember, if you do put down a written review, you will be entered into a contest to win a NCC 1701D Bluetooth speaker. And as always, thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us as we search out all good things.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.